Earful Tower listeners, hello guys. Whoa, I gotta say straight away, this is a second recording because I did my first intro and I listened to it back and it was so lacking in energy that I was a bit disappointed with myself. So I'm coming back for take two, a little bit more energy. I've slapped myself on the face. So this week's episode, we've got Guy Griffin. He's a cafe, he's a restaurant owner, and he's talking about whether hipsters have ruined Paris or not. And we also talked about the changing coffee scene in Paris and the difference between this kind of old Paris and new Paris. Now, before we get into it, I want to say I'm really excited. You can hear it in my voice. I'm excited. April 18th, so just a couple of weeks from right now when I'm recording this, we've got my next live show, and that's with Adrienne Leeds, the past guest, the property guru, the real estate expert. She's going to be talking with me in front of a live crowd at Cafe Mericourt, which is actually the cafe that's run by today's guest, Guy Griffin. So the show's going to be based on, so this is the live show, that's going to be based on this concept of why Paris? Why do people want to live here? Why do they want to come here, especially when it's so expensive? She's got the answers, I think. And the tickets are going to be 10 euros. 10 euros if you come live. If you want to watch it from home, all you have to do is become a Patreon member, and I'm going to stream it live around the entire universe. But if you want a ticket, if you want to come in person, there's only so many tickets, I think about 40 places, and a few of them are already reserved. So email me at oliver@theearfultower.com, and I'll put your name aside, and we'll see you on April the 18th. Otherwise, let's get on with the episode.
One man, one country, one red scooter. Here's the Earful Tower with Oliver G.
Guy Griffin.
Hi.
Guy Griffin. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So you've been, you're a friend of the show.
Yeah.
Love the show, did you say?
I love the show, yeah.
That's, you know what, one of the reasons why we were talking in your coffee shop, Cafe Mericourt, the other day, and I said you should come on the show to talk about hipsters. And you said, no, I've been on the show before. And I like that because a lot of people ask to be on the show. And I feel like if someone doesn't want to be on the show, I want them on even more. You know what I mean?
It's not that I don't want to be on the show. It's just like sometimes I don't know how legitimate I am to be on the show.
Don't be ridiculous, Guy. In terms of talking about being a hipster in Paris, you're one of the most legitimate people there are.
Thanks. Oh, we're starting with insults, are we?
So for context, so you run Cafe Oberkampf, and when we first met, in terms of the Eiffel Tower, we were doing the world's first ever walk show.
Yes.
Which was, we had an unstabilized selfie stick. And we just walked up and remember we walked to Cafe Mericourt, your new place. Yeah. So you saw the video again recently, right?
I saw it again recently. It was funny.
How funny was it to see?
It was amazing because actually, I think I told you that afterwards. But the whole thing with me shaking my keys and everything, I had only just signed and I hadn't physically had the keys in my hands, and I was like really nervous. I was hoping I hadn't jinxed myself because when I saw myself punching the air at the end, I was like, oh, actually, I was actually like really sweating because like punching the air and jinxing myself at the same time.
Because what happened is you were just about to open the new cafe, and we started the walk show, which is like a talk show but walking for anyone who didn't watch it, and you held up your keys and we said that's the 10th question, and then we walked down and there was your cafe, but it was blue back in those days.
Yeah. I mean, it had been abandoned for 6 months or something, right. And I'd only just it was a pre-signature as well or something. It wasn't even finished. The whole signing process wasn't finished, but it was like 90% sure that I was going to get the place, but it was just like I was like, oh god, I hope I haven't jinxed it.
And then
how embarrassing it would be to explain to everyone, like
everyone. I mean, those are the early days of the podcast when no one
10,000. How many now?
I think we have February was 23,000. It's
amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's
fun. That was only a year ago.
Yeah, so that was cool because it was the first. You were the first ever walk show victim, host, guest. Anyway, so we were having a coffee. So since then, I come to the new coffee shop, Cafe Mericourt, which I love, and it's no surprise to you, I think. Best in the 11th, I call it.
I mean, it's a tie.
Between
Oberkampf and Mericourt?
No. I say Mericourt. Bigger.
Thank you. It's bigger. It's very different.
Yeah.
Like one's turning more into like a restaurant because it's like a fully equipped kitchen and the menus maybe slightly more substantial. And the other one's become, seeing as with the opening of Mericourt, it's become way cozier and chilled, and so we're orientating it more towards specialty coffee.
Which would you recommend a visitor to go to?
Depending on what you're looking for.
No, they can only go to one. And you say, what are you looking for? They say, I haven't got time to explain. What would you say?
Miracle.
Miracle.
Yeah, because it's the newbie.
Interesting you say that, because we haven't talked about this before we pressed the microphones on. That's going to be the venue for my next live event as well.
Yeah.
In April 18th, Wednesday. Yeah, Adrian Leeds. What are you going to be doing for that? I mean, you're not the guest on that one.
I'm not speaking at all.
Well, you can.
I'm just co-hosting. No, I'm not really co-hosting. No. Like I'm.
What does busboy mean?
That's it. I'll be picking up dirty glasses.
Okay, that's going to be a good one though.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's really exciting.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about hipsters in Paris. Because when I was in your cafe the other day, you told me a funny story, and I said, "Stop, Guy. I love that story. Let's talk about that on the air." And you said, "Okay." And it was about. I'll give you the intro, and maybe you can tell it again. It was about some people came in. You called them dirty commoners. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm okay with that, but they won't be listening to the podcast anyway.
Just for everybody, I just made that up. You said some people came in who looked like they weren't typical.
Yeah, because you do have, like with Café Oberkampf, I do have a certain category of person that comes in because of the aesthetics and the publicity around it. People come in, and like 99% of the time they come in knowing what to expect. Like they're coming in, they're wanting specialty coffee. Yeah. So
99% have Instagram accounts.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah. And like also they research specialty coffee in Paris, and so Café Oberkampf comes up in the 11th.
Right.
And so people come there, and so they're prepared to pay €2.50 for an espresso,
sure,
and have a coffee that's quite particular in its tastes and in its texture, and even just in the amount of coffee that comes into a cup. Like they're quite short. A French person or someone that's not used to that industry would call it a ristretto. So people, they come in, and so we hardly ever have had any negative feedback about what we serve, and we serve it with confidence, and we're very proud of what we serve. We work with great roasters, and our coffee is a really good quality coffee. And with the opening of Mericore, we have transitioned into, because of the bigger space and the fact that it was a restaurant beforehand, but more of a bistro that opened in the evening, we have had a certain type of clientele that may be more traditional, like French traditional.
The kind who want the traditional espresso that they get at the bar tabac.
At the bar tabac, so it's a bar tabac clientele.
And a bar tabac is, for those who don't know, including me.
A bar tabac is like a bar that sells tobacco.
Right.
So it's like
bar tabac, if you couldn't pronounce it properly.
Yeah. And so it's the zinc. Is it called zinc?
I don't know.
The counter. Do you know the copper counters and stuff like that? In France, you call it le zinc.
Is it called le zinc?
Le zinc.
What's made out of zinc?
Yeah, it's most of the time it's made out of zinc, and it's just like it's sort of that popular way to say I'm gonna go up to le zinc, or so you're like your elbow on the counter. And you're ordering an espresso, you're going to drink it super hot.
Sure.
Because it comes out piping hot. You don't have time. You'll just smash it and then leave. Or it's also the coffee that you're going to come in. You want to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So you order
for €1.
€1.10 espresso, and then you can use the bathroom. So stuff like that. So we have had that sort of person coming in. The aesthetics sort of filter those sort of people. They walk by and they're sort of like, oh, this is a bit... It's not fancy, but it doesn't look like a bar tabac.
Yeah, they're not going to put their elbow on the zinc.
No, not really. No. So, but we are starting to get...
You can.
Oh, you can. I'd love to. Yeah. And the espresso is actually cheaper at the bar.
But what is it?
Yeah, it's €2 instead of $2.50.
I didn't know that.
No, you drink flat whites, that's why.
That's true. Yeah. Correct. Or moving into filter these days also.
Good filter, good choice.
Yeah, thanks. I just like the word flat white as well.
Yeah.
I like saying it.
And you can't say it in that many places. So
I called it an F-dub when I had Nico from Hollybelly on the show. And he said he was going to go with it, but I don't think he went with it. No.
I don't know.
They're too cool. They're too cool down there. In a good way.
In a very good way.
Anyway, so these guys came into you.
So these come in, and so I actually have this apprehension when someone comes in. So it's sort of me that I'm... it's sort of... Maybe it's insulting on my behalf because I'm already judging that person saying he's going to sit down, and I'm always a bit nervous putting down my coffee because I know that I'm going to serve him... it's going to be like 20 centiliters of really strong and distinct coffee because of the oils, because of the freshness and the way it's extracted. And so I know straight away that person's going to taste it and it's not going to be in his comfort zone.
Sure. I don't think that's insulting. I think that's more that you're worried that they're not going to get the experience that they're after.
That's it. I'm worried that they're not going to enjoy it. So I overdo things. Like I bring the water. I'm really over polite. And so to try and compensate with the fact that I know that I assume that they're going to be disappointed with the coffee I'm serving. Right. And so on the day I saw you, I had that thing where I sort of played this scenario in my head because I do that quite a lot. I sort of...
This is what the extra money is for on the coffee, is all the thinking that you do before you serve it to someone. Because
I try and anticipate conflict. Yeah. So I'm like playing the scenario in my head on how I'd respond to his criticism or his... So I was already hearing the words, oh, God, this is a hipster place. I'm not paying €2.50 for a coffee. And so it was funny because I told you that story and you said, oh, I just stumbled upon an article that talked about it as well.
You looked yourself in the mirror at the time.
I often do. Because so if you take the definition of hipster, but not the definition, the internet definition, but the definition that people... make of a hipster, and like even in a fashion sense or something, I'm literally that stereotype.
What were you wearing that day?
So while coming to work, it's sort of like it's the trousers that are rolled up maybe one roll too many, so you see maybe too much sock. It's the beanie the same, it's rolled up above the ears.
Like I've got one on today.
If you're wearing a beanie in the winter, shouldn't you want it to cover your whole head? But you don't. Yeah. And it's just that sort of thing. So I wasn't as far as wearing the checkered shirt buttoned up to the top.
Yeah, right. Not that you were any stranger to that, though.
No, not at all.
So you felt you were being a hipster on that. You were a hipster, perhaps, and you felt guilty about it. You had hipster shame.
No, because I don't consider myself as being... I don't know. Hipsters are very... Then after that, I've been thinking about it a lot. Hipsters are a very strange term.
Well, I've got the definition up here, the internet definition. Pronunciation hipster. There's an upside down E, so I think it's like hipster. Yeah. A person who follows the latest trends and fashions, especially those regarded as being outside the cultural mainstream. So fashion aside, I think, and this is the reason we're talking about it today, is this, and how it all comes back to Paris, is... specialty or speciality coffee shops being outside the cultural mainstream, having a more expensive coffee rather than sitting at the zinc with your elbow on the table. A lot of people that accuse, including this article you just mentioned, hipsters of ruining Paris.
Yeah, so it's not just the specialty coffee, it's like barbers. Do you know there's been explosion of barbers?
No, the haircut.
No, haircut. Yeah, like there are these. There's this been explosion of barbershops that have opened where people are growing out their beards and they're going to these barbershops to get like properly cut beards and cocktail bars. I mean, in Pigalle, the amount of cocktail bars that have like opened where you've got a 30-year-old, late 30-year-old with tats and a beard, and he's making these really creative, beautiful cocktails in these really beautiful spaces as well. Everything's curated in a way. So there's been, with that movement, was the opening of all these different places. So the thing I've been thinking about the past few days since we've had that conversation was the hipster the part of that creation, or was the creations part of creating hipsters? Do you know what I mean? Were the hipsters creating creation,
deep, Guy.
Or it's like who was first?
I see.
Do you know? Do you like? Does someone that works in that community, is he molded into a certain?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think I get what you mean now, because it's not. It's also not that it's not that there's 10 people here being ultra creative and starting things that are outside the mainstream. It more becomes a substream that it almost has a uniform.
Yeah,
now.
And so the difference with other movements that there were, like the mods or the punks or stuff like that, is that this generation, so the generation of hipsters, have been very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Like they've been creating a lot.
Sure.
So through young roasters and through restaurants, and so it's that's why the category has slightly changed, and it's also died out because I was talking to Alice about this. So Alice, who works in fashion, was saying that in fashion, hipster is not really a thing. It's not a category of hipsters. Whereas, because today, there's way more randomness in fashion. You have way more liberty. So it's not something that hipster is not something you would see on a runway or in a catalog, or it's not part of a. So it's sort of something that was used to define a movement or define an era. But for me, it's not something it's sort of faded in some ways.
But what about this idea that they've ruined Paris? I think, let me just say that I know a lot of people that listen to this show love old Paris. And they love the idea of walking through the cobblestones of Montmartre where Picasso was kicking around one day. And they love the idea of being on the left bank where Hemingway was writing in cafes, you know?
Yeah. No, but I mean, I don't think I think it's changed the way industry. So I'm going to talk about the restaurant industry, which is the restaurant I know the most. But it's the way it's changed the way the industry's been working, because so you do have all these amazing cafes. Like during Fashion Week, you go on Rue de Bretagne to Café Charlot, and it is slammed because it's.
Do you recommend that place?
Depending on if you want to go people watching, and it's the area is really good. We love that Rue de Bretagne street,
fourth arrondissement, maybe third,
and with the Marché des Enfants Rouges and all that. That's third, I mean, that's really cool. So I recommend it, but you go for a certain thing. You don't go there expecting a really good coffee, or but you do have. The waiters that are dressed in what we call like penguins, like dressed like penguins. They're wearing the white shirts and the black aprons and things like that. And so that's where you get your old, traditional, typical French experience. Yeah. But these places now, with the rise of these new businesses, where there's an emphasis on customer service, there's an emphasis on the quality of the products that are being served. Well, these people have I think, have had to have a change in their way of thinking. So these people have been. These people, it sounds really weird.
No, but they're like the institutions, you know? They've survived on being an institution, and now the game's being roughed up.
Yeah, so they're actually calling upon consultants like young chefs to actually come and rethink their menu. Like one of the big dogs in coffee is Café Richard, and they're not considered at all specialty coffee. They're the ones that are sold in bar tabac, and so you're going to buy a slightly over roasted coffee. But now they've developed a sort of a coffee that they call specialty coffee, which is a lot higher end. And these coffee shops are actually these cafes are actually buying this coffee because they know that there is a certain demand for a good quality coffee. So I think maybe the industry had to change.
Do you think that the industry was getting away, the cafe industry was getting away on having the best people watching in the world and the best terraces?
Totally. Yeah. Because that's a French thing. I mean, the French, you wonder how things, well, you know why things don't get done. Because the terraces are always full. People, that's a French thing, just sitting in a cafe at a terrace, and people, that's something I recommend to people that visit. It's just like take an afternoon and just like sit in a terrace. Montorgueil is a good one. Montorgueil is busy and buzzy. And just like people watch. Café, if you want to go left bank as well, Café de Flore.
Yeah. Expensive though.
Expensive.
What is it, like €6 for a cappuccino or something? More.
Yeah. Go for an espresso.
Go for an espresso. Yeah. What is that? €2 probably.
A bit more. No, a bit more.
Really?
Than that. Yeah, maybe.
I've never drank in there before.
But I mean, it's one of those really historical and traditional places where you go for a certain experience, and you don't leave that. If you know what you're going for, and you know what to expect, you don't leave disappointed.
Yeah. Do you know what I think about it all? If I were to throw in my 2 cents.
That's what we're here for.
No, that's not true. We're here to hear from you, but I just wanted to add something. Is that all this, the Paris, like the old, like I love the terraces and sitting there with, I don't really care if it's a disgusting coffee or food if I'm sitting in a really cool place. You know, I love it. And a lot of the people that listen to this, they tell me they love that kind of stuff too. Some people say, €4 for a coffee, forget it. Maybe they're not into the stuff that you guys sell yet or ever, or who knows. But what I think about it is this mixture of Paris, so the old Paris and the new Paris, is like a really good remix of an old song. So you get all the familiar stuff, but you got this new sort of added beat to it or whatever.
Yeah, but the thing is that with all these remixes, you love it for like a year.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly say, actually, I really like the old song.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The old song's still here. So the city, okay. So
but then it's been remastered.
Okay,
it's been remastered since.
But maybe the new places are like the remixes. Anyway, my point is you can still feel the new and the old, and it all sort of works together.
It does, yeah. I mean, there's space for both.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I love sitting. Well, yeah, I'd love sitting in a beautiful cafe, having that experience. But then knowing my tastes, I just wouldn't have an espresso. I'd have a sparkling water or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's really important to keep that experience. And also, but then I also think it's good that these people, that part of the industry questions what's going on in their kitchens and what's going on in their glasses, and maybe says to themselves, well, yeah, maybe we do want a wine that has been that's maybe bio, or that comes from a smaller vineyard where the product's respected maybe a bit more. Or do you know, maybe I think it's quite good. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think it's happening, but it's sometimes, and maybe it's the same for hairdressers. Like these new barbershops come in, and you have like great staff, and it's fun, and people know you by your first name, and so maybe other hairdressers are like, okay, well, maybe we need to rethink our things slightly.
I've got an idea for you. Crack the barbershops with your coffee.
Yeah. There is a problem with that, though, because we do have a barbershop next to Cafe Oberkampf.
Yeah,
and
right.
we get on really well.
Yeah.
Get a lot of little hairs in. So
in your coffee.
Yeah. So
okay.
we do make our coffee and then supply it and take it to them.
Yeah.
But if you have an actual coffee machine, you've got a lot of particles.
Yeah, okay, bad luck. It wasn't my best idea.
Yeah, no, it's good though. But that's a big thing at the moment in industry in general. It's like people creating a mix between coffee shops and something else. So at the moment, it's like it's flowers and coffee. And,
I've seen a few of them around Paris.
I've got a new one that's doing like it's going to be like an agency, a communications agency with a little coffee shop on the side.
Yeah, I like it. It's a bit like this podcast. We do live videos. That's not audio. That's a video.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you agreed before, but I'm just going to say it on air too. We're going to do a live video after this, aren't we?
Yeah. Great.
Any way you want.
The weather's quite nice.
The weather's beautiful today. Yeah. So there's something for the Patreon members, supporters of the show who make the show possible. We're going to walk around and point things out to them. But I'd like to finish on 2 questions because the time's flown.
God, already?
Right, yeah, it's flown.
Oh, wow.
The 2 questions, the first is what's next for you? Can we expect more cafes?
Not... Yes and no.
Okay.
There are projects that we're thinking about. It may not be like a physical cafe because it'll
be in the cloud.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Well, I'm still in that. I'm in the optic. I would love to be able to do everything homemade, like everything myself. So we do, like for example, we don't roast our own coffee yet, and we don't cook our own bread. Everything else is homemade, the pastries and things like that. So I would like to maybe think about doing that, and we are working on that sort of project. And there may be a couple of pop-ups this summer.
Cool, exciting.
Yeah, exciting, really exciting.
And the last question. This is a new one from a patron of the show. Patron. I don't know how to pronounce it yet. And he says his name's Peter. He says you should ask this to your guest. I really like the question. Might become a regular thing. Is there something in Paris that you've always wanted to do but you haven't?
Oh my God. This is one on the spot things.
It's one.
Are you going to be able to edit the really uncomfortable pause?
No, the uncomfortable pause is good.
Okay.
Stop stalling. Like a lot of people, for example, haven't climbed the Eiffel Tower. You know?
Yeah.
Have you got one like that?
Okay. You've done it, and I think, but there's a difference between doing something because you want to tick the box and having said you've done it, and doing something.
Did I tick the box? What is it?
No, it was the catacombs.
Oh.
I've never done that because there's always such a queue, and I can't queue.
But yeah, there is at least 45 minutes. Even
it's
if you're
crazy.
Early. You can skip the queue if you pay extra, I think.
So maybe that.
But you know, I went down to one of the private ones. That's what you got to do.
Can you book that?
No, you got to know the right people.
Okay.
And I don't mean the ones where you sneak through the drain pipe.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
There are museums that you can't even Google underground.
Okay.
Amazing places. And an upcoming guest on the show works in one. He took me down. So you have to listen to
you have access to, legally you have access, even like the...
It's like a private museum. They use it for archaeologists or something.
Regular Joes can go there
Regular
as well.
Joes, I don't know if I think you have to befriend the person.
Okay.
But he just emailed me and wanted to be on the show. And he said, I'll show you, I'll whet your appetite by showing you something really cool. And we went down there. It was amazing. Oh, amazing. No bones.
So I think... Oh, really?
No bones.
Did you see bones in the actual catacombs, though?
The actual catacombs full of bones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I'd like to do, but I don't know if it's because I'm literally interested or if I want to tick a box. And it's because there's also the thing of like it not being very accessible because you do have to queue.
That's true. I mean, it's one of those things that a lot of people... I didn't go there for years until my dad was here and he really wanted to do it. So we went down and checked it out.
That's the great thing about when you're having family from abroad that visit. You do all the things that you wouldn't do because you categorize it as a tourist thing.
Exactly.
Like at the penny, I did a peniche with my mum. The boat things.
Yeah, good.
A flyboat. It was great because you literally... I went from Bastille to the Eiffel Tower. Nice. And it was like half an hour. It was a beautiful sunny day.
Half an hour? How fast were you going?
It's quick. Really? Paris is tiny.
Yeah, okay.
And so you see like le Louvre, you see Musée d'Orsay, you see all these things.
But a lot of people don't think
just
about
sitting down, and you've got your and you stop. You do half an hour at the Eiffel Tower, and then the boat takes you back again.
Do you know what I would do if I were a businessman? Speedboat tours on the Seine, really quick. Like I did one in the canyons in New Zealand once.
Yeah.
You know, really quick ones where they spin around 360. Imagine that. It's like the Eurostar. You can eat breakfast in Paris and then lunch in London and so on. I'd promote it as like you could have a coffee in Bastille and then finish it.
There are some people that have some really weird business plans.
Yeah, that was one of them. Wasn't
it? There's this guy that's talking of bus things. It's like bus and burger.
Bus and burger?
Yeah, and so you just eat the burger.
When were we talking about bus things?
Didn't you say about a bus tour?
No.
Okay.
Speedboat tour.
Speedboat.
Speedboat.
Didn't you say something else there?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. And you just like, you go around on a one-story bus eating burgers and you visit Paris in that.
That's not bad.
I'm going to get car sick. Very car sick.
I don't know. I think
there's no kitchen as well. How good can the burger be?
I think maybe I'll stick to podcasting and you stick to cafes and we'll be all right.
Yep.
But let's go.
We're combining both on the Wednesday, the 18th?
18th of April. Adrian Leeds talking about real estate. She got the keys to the city, that woman. She's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know of her. You told me about her. She sounds really good.
She's cool. So
by the way, I like that the podcaster's question.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite good.
Peter.
People should do that more often.
People should also, send in questions?
Yeah.
I like that,
I like that idea.
Yeah. You did all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I loved it.
I think we're going to...
see you next week, guys.
That's in all seriousness, listeners, if you want... It's funny because I met a listener recently and she said, show me a place for lunch. I met up with her and I took her to you. Straight to Cafe Miracle.
Lovely story, that. Don't know if you're going to come back on that one day, but that was a great little story.
Yeah, I think I maybe will have told it by the time this episode goes out. She's the one that recognized my red scooter and tracked me down in a cafe. It was pretty cool.
The scooter should have a podcast.
The scooter does. This is the Scooter's podcast. Hey, maybe that's season 4. That's a little hint for something coming up, guys, that I've got planned. But Guy Griffin of Cafe Oberkampf and Cafe Méricourt, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
First time in the studio for you.
Yep, I liked it. I was a bit nervous.
Really?
Loved it. It was fun.
No.
Went by so quickly.
It does. And guys, go and check out his cafe. Get a coffee. Tell him that you heard him on the show. He won't give you a discount or anything, but he will treat you better. Yeah, he'll treat you better than he treats everybody else. Maybe I'll see you there. I'm there all the time. So, we'll see you next time, Guy.
Cheers, guys.
You're listening to the Earful Tower podcast.
Well, there you have it. There's the episode for the week. We did do a walk show. We headed out. It was a really beautiful day, and we headed around the Saint Vincent de Paul Church, which is just outside the studio. So keep an eye out for that, you Patreon supporters. As usual, I'm going to finish on a couple of reviews. The reason I do this is because if you guys are kind enough to leave a review, it helps the podcast get noticed, helps it grow, which is in my best interest, I guess. If it's going to keep growing, if I'm going to keep doing it. Here's 2 that I got this week. The first is from Knitting Coquelicot. 5 stars for sure, she says. Could be a he. I feel like it's a she. She says, this is one of the best podcasts ever, and I should know since I listen to a ton of them. Oliver's charming, has a great sense of humor, and even a sense of silliness, while taking the work of his show seriously at the same time. Each episode's full of interest and information. I ask you, what's not to like? 5 stars. Thank you so much, Knitting. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice of you to leave that review. Thanks very much. Here's another one from England. It says, it's from Sappy Laundry Room, and it says, I fell deeply in love with the Earful Tower. This is true. You can look at it on iTunes if you don't believe me. I fell deeply in love with the Earful Tower since day one. Normal people hate Mondays, but for me, it means another exciting and insightful new episode. In fact, I love the Earful Tower so much that I don't know what to do with my life from Tuesday to Sunday. So what do? I re-listen to the whole show from episode 1. All in all, an amazing podcast. Hope to one day visit Paris. Keep it up. 5 stars, yeah. Deeply in love, that's a new one. And re-listening to all the old episodes is a new one too. But thanks for the support. I'd recommend anyone who... I do get emails sometimes from you guys who binge listen, which I find quite funny. If you guys do binge listen, send me an email. Let me know where you're doing it, because I like hearing of people that are driving across, I don't know, Arizona or Australia or whatever, listening to the episodes. It's quite a surreal image for me to think that people are binge listening to these episodes, but it's really cool to hear. And if there are other people out there who don't know what to do with themselves from Tuesday to Sunday, I would recommend, one last time, patreon.com/The Earful Tower, where I've been doing it since Christmas, building up a whole lot of extra videos, a lot of extra audio, and even extra articles, really, as a way to try and fund this whole podcast. And I've never really talked about how it works on the air before, but if you hung around this long, you can, I'm sure you don't mind me telling you, I've put a bunch of different tiers. So if you start at the $1 a month, you get access to bonus audio when the guests hang around the studio. If you sign up at $5 a month, you get in a closed Facebook group, you get live streams from the live shows like the one I'm doing on April 18th. If you sign up at the $10 level, you see a weekly walk show like I just did with Guy Griffin. That's where we sort of walk around Paris and I point out things all live, and they will stay there forevermore. And then there's other levels if you really like the show and you want to pay extra, but you can figure it all out. Patreon.com/The Earful Tower. As we speak, I think there's 106 people have signed up. You guys are making this show go forward. Thank you so much for your time. As for the rest of you, enjoy the show, enjoy your week, and you'll hear from me again on Monday. Talk to you then.